Thanks everybody. My name is Xiamen. I come from the National University of Singapore Department of Medicine, and I'm advised by my professor, Prof. Xiamen. So the title of my talk today is going to be a chatbot, which is for disease of interest, multiple myeloma. But you can imagine you can use the chatbot for any other disease if you customize it. So let's try and imagine what is the use case for this tool, right? So you are a wet lab researcher for some disease. I guess most of us are bioinformaticians, but actually 20 people, out of the 20 people in my lab, like 17 are wet lab researchers. And there is this huge data set that is very helpful to understand this disease, right? Because it has matched data for clinical, survival, and omics data types. You can already imagine you have that data set in mind. But because of how complex this data set is, there are so many clinical annotations, and as a wet lab researcher, your job is not to do programming, right? So what do? You have to rely on the bioinformatician from your lab for analysis. But the critical problem is that he may be overloaded with work and it can take days, right? So actually this scenario applies to many data sets like TCGA, GTEx, UK Biobank. They're all super useful, but because of how complex they are, it can take years before they learn how to use the data set. And for our disease of interest in NUS, we also have a similar case called the CoMMpass dataset. It's for a disease called multiple myeloma, but it's actually, the main thing is that it is also a very huge data set that has a high barrier to entry. With the advent of ChatGPT and other LLM tools, I wanted to know whether ChatGPT could help me in my research for learning about this data set. So I just asked it a question that I'm pretty sure it cannot answer correctly, because the data set is hidden behind this registration wall. So the ChatGPT will never be able to answer, right? And indeed it says that if you upload the data, then I can do it for you. So that gives alarm bells in my head, because we don't want to upload patient data onto the ChatGPT, right? And quickly skipping to, so what we can learn is that when it comes to doing like primary research, when we don't just want to do a literature search, but we want to actually do some data analysis that has never been done on the internet, right? We can't use ChatGPT because it will only try to answer using its internal knowledge. If it cannot do so, then it will search the literature if somebody has done the analysis before, and then it will just, if not, it will ask the user to upload data, which is a no-go for us. And so we have to build an in-house GPT, right, for our disease of choice. And what is it? We call it Myeloma GPT or MyeGPT. It allows researchers to chat with the data set. Imagine you are chatting to a bioinformatician who is very knowledgeable about this large data set, right? And this is meant to allow researchers to unlock the great benefits of this data set. The main selling point is that you can just use English, or actually you can use Mandarin or Japanese, whatever language you want, because it's an LLM. And also you are basically just texting somebody. You don't have to do programming, right? And now we have actually a demo session. You can actually scan this QR code to bring you to the AWS deployment of this app, right? But this is completely optional, right? You can either register your own account or use the username ICBBS and password ICBBS 2025. So this is optional, so I will quickly move on. And we will try to see whether it can answer some research questions that we know the ground truth of. So this is a graph taken from the white paper of this clinical trial, and just shows one of the analysis they did. Doesn't matter what the analysis is, but it's showing that this marker they have discovered stratifies survival pretty well. So we want to try and recreate this analysis. And this is where I'm supposed to play a video. But also I can actually go online at the same time and let me see if I can open up a browser. Let's hope the VPN is not restricted by VPN. Okay, let me try and share, change the sharing. How do I share my... Oh, man, it's okay. I think I have some difficulty sharing my screen. How do I play the video? Oh, it's playing. Okay, yeah. So I just entered this website and asked it the question I had asked earlier, right? And right now it's thinking, so there's no reply yet, right? So you can see that the sort of intermediate steps are coming up this way. Now I'm asking it to do a plot for me because we want to have some visualization. It's thinking again, 3 times speed. You can see the intermediate steps coming out on the right hand side. But of course, if you don't want to see that, you can just hide it and show the trace as well. So it actually works on your mobile phone too. Yeah, so I asked it to give me a histogram of the proliferation index, right? So it seems to be able to do that. And also it is using Python, so if you want to change the color or anything, just tell it, I want this color, that color, it will do it for you. Yeah, and so this is the final result, I guess. Shows that it can do some kind of survival curves. But also if you want, usually in survival curves we have a p-value showing the statistical significance between the two groups. So what I'm asking it to do now is to do a log rank test for the difference between the two groups. Right, and then finally I will ask it to display the p-value inside this plot. So actually it can be used to create publication quality plots as well. You don't have to do any programming, just yeah, so you can see the p-value has appeared. The second analysis, this is where actually it's a bit more complicated because we are asking it to compare the differences between the two subpopulations, PR versus others, that we had defined earlier for the 5 of these genes. Some of them may be familiar to you if you are doing cancer, right? So this again is a known result. This is a ground truth from this Nature Genetics paper for the dataset. So it's an official source of truth, right? Now we want to try and ask MyeGPT to go and recreate this plot. And I'm going to show you that actually it crashes the first time you ask it to do this challenging task. So it keeps on thinking. It has a maximum recursion of 50 steps. So if it reaches that recursion limit without getting an answer, then it's going to crash, right? And you can see that it doesn't produce any output, and it's not responding to any new queries as well. So the solution for that is to just log in again, and then it will try and delete those messages which caused it to crash. So now there's a bit of waiting as it detects that there's an error in the agent's memory. It will delete some error causing conversations. Yeah, then I just asked it to resume the analysis, right? So it does provide some kind of box plot for the 5 genes we wanted in the same order for the 2 groups, PR and others. And also the reason why it crashed earlier, because it was doing this, I think it's a statistical test between the 2 groups. Can't remember the name of the test, but it did that for me without even asking. And then lastly, I asked it to sort of customize the plots a bit, so it looks a bit more like the previous figure. And I asked it to plot the individual strip plots. Yeah, so in summary, I know it's a really quick demonstration, but it is an AI tool that allows researchers and doctors, because my professor is a medical doctor, to chat with this data set without having to go into intensive programmer mode, right? And it is like a bioinformatician. It's 24 hours, it doesn't eat, sleep, or poop. You can abuse it all you want, right? Just like how you abuse bioinformaticians. And finally, if you are a bioinformatician yourself, you can outsource this kind of number crunching to an AI so that you can think about the bigger questions, because I think the questions become more interesting when you go bigger picture. And finally, I'd like to thank my mentor, Prof. Cheng from NUS, lab members, the Multiple Myeloma Research Foundation for funding the clinical trial, and patients and participants of the clinical trial. And on the last slide, this is just, if you have any questions, please shoot. Yeah, but one common question is how much does it cost? So in the initial versions of the app, I actually ended up spending like maybe $20 per session for maybe 5-6 questions. But we have managed to cut it down to maybe 10 cents for a long question, yeah, in USD. So thank you very much.
Thanks for the talk. And any questions?
Thanks. I'm just curious, how do you construct this chatbot? Like, do you do a post-training or some kind of things like that?
We don't do any post-training. It's the framework we are using is called the React framework. So it's built by just an agent or the LLM in the center of the architecture. You can use any model you want, like DeepSeek, or I'm using OpenAI's GPT-5 Mini, right? But this GPT has access to a set of tools that can allow you to access data sets. So the model decides on its own when to call the tools and whether the result that comes back from these tools are satisfactory. And if so, it will terminate. If not, it will keep running. Yes.
So you still use a open source, like an open source model, base model, right? And then make it do some things like you feed it with data and you just train it. Right?
Actually, there's no training. Yeah.
And it's not training, but it's you feed it with specialized.
Yeah, exactly.
Knowledge, right?
Give it specialized knowledge, just as you put it.
I'm curious because ChatGPT is closed source, it's not open source. So I'm not sure how did you do that. Yeah, so now it makes sense.
Oh yeah, because we don't have to access the model. We just call APIs to the.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any questions? Yeah, I have a question. I would like to know, did you compare your MyeGPT with recent public agents such as Dr. Biowright? Did you know this? perform
That's a-
biomedical analysis?
Yeah, that's a very good question. In order to do that, we need to come up with a data set first, like a question bank, right? So we are trying to come up with an exam paper full of questions from campus that we know the answer to, so that we can do this scoring. Yeah, but to answer your question, I think it will not do very well because it doesn't have access to the data set.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
Your advantage is the data unique of the data set.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, this is the best for that data set because it has access to it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.